Okay, now I'm going to break down even further. Traditionally, the Vipassana is approached different schools of Buddhism. I mean, in the more, let's say, Sharvakayana path, such as, what we call Sharvakayana, which is Theravada, part of is the Theravada. A lot of emphasis on sitting, watching the breath, because that has a lot of virtue. Because first of all, by sitting, you are already isolating yourself from all kinds of distractions. We call it distractions, but basically it is the comfort zone I was talking earlier. See, we always fall into these comfort zones. Comfort zone meaning the fake, partial picture, not real thing, but we are so used to it, we are comfortable there. Not all the time though. You see, that's the challenge here. We feel comfortable, sort of comfortable, but then we always fall into some sort of a disappointment, some sort of anxiety, then, the endless problems. But then we just don't know we just don't know otherwise, so to speak. We are just so comfortable with that comfort zone. So the traditional method, not just in the Theravada, but also in the Mahayana and also in the Vajrayana, one very, very good method is sitting. Beginning, and then watching the breath, watching the sensations, and so on and so forth. At the least, what it does is it isolates you from these comfort zone. And then you become more naked, so to speak. You become more clear. You become more independent, if you like. You are really looking at the life without other interference. You are really looking at the life with a full bird's eye view. So just watching the breathing in and out, it immediately, the sensations and all of that, it immediately gives you the picture of anicca, impermanence, dukkha, and then anatta. And then in the Mahayana, shunyata, or the tathagata garva, and in the Vajrayana, maybe the experience of, basically, sort of that's the traditional approach. But today, what I want to say is this. By all means, I'm not saying that those are outdated. Definitely, we should uphold. If you have time, if you have means, by all means do so, because those were carefully crafted and designed by great masters of the past for centuries. I always say this, there's one thing that ancient Indian or the Asian wisdom has, is, at least in Buddhism, for instance, there's a 2,500 years of experience in dealing with mind, and mind being the most important. If you don't have mind, you are basically a dead body. You're like a pebble, you're like a piece of wood. So those techniques definitely should not be discarded. But I'm afraid most of today's people, not just kids, not just teenagers, us, everyone, including me, we don't have time. We don't have time to sit, and we don't have the wish to sit. There's so many exciting things going on outside. Just the very mention of somebody sit, that's like the last thing you want to hear. Sit, that's the most boring thing to hear. Sit for how long? 1 minute, that is like a burden. That's like, now it's just, because that's how the world has changed. The world has evolved. It has evolved so much that, nowadays people don't even read a good book, right? You know this. They don't have time to read a book from page 1 to the last page. They just want to read some headlines, some blips, some I don't know, big font, whatever. People have no time for all the details. So because of that, I mean, I have just recently found that there's an app where you can read all the major books in like 5 minutes. Look, each book you can read in 5 minutes, essential things. So it shows people don't have time. So what does that mean? So now what? Do we have life for Vipassana? This is the question. And my argument is very much so, very much. We just, I mean, sitting, watching the breathing, doing the retreat, going to a forest, I don't know, by all means, if you have time, go to Thailand, go to Burma, go to Sri Lanka, Nepal to do these retreats. This always will help you. But if you are in a position where you don't have this kind of time, the best thing that you have is this feeling awkward and feeling, okay, empty, feeling sad. And I'm actually quoting from a sutra. This sutra says, there are two indispensable things that you need to perfect Vipassana. One is sadness about your whole thing, whatever you have. Little bit, not sadness is maybe not the right translation, but hey, I'm 60 years old. Is this it? Is this the only thing that is so-called life? What's the, what is it now? What's the next? The same thing again and again. And some sort of a feeling, yeah, maybe a little bit of or maybe even a big sort of depression, sadness, feeling empty, or even what the German word existentialist angst. Do I even exist? Who am I? What am I doing? Feels like I'm just like an ant, just following everybody's sort of kind of a norm, right? Food, shelter, well, at least that's sort of essential, but then so many other things. So some sort of a feeling awkward and feeling there has to be something more than this. This is a good thing. This shows some sort of a dawn of insight. You are beginning to look at life in a much higher. You are not just copying. You are not just, I don't know, you are not, you want to be independent. This is the beginning to be independent. You are actually beginning to become independent when you're feeling a little depressed with whatever is going on. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm talking about a specific depression about, like emptiness of life. Again, not the shunyata I'm talking about, like nihil, sort of very feeling nihilist, feeling sort of purposeless. I don't know. Now that is a very important element. And I think this one modern people do have. I mean, I meet a lot of modern people. Some of them are really, they have achieved so much, whatever they are supposed to achieve, or whatever they have been pushed to achieve. They have been pushed to go to school, they went. They have been pushed to go to highest Ivy League, I don't know, situations they've done. They have been pushed by family, friends to get the best job they have done. But now, they are asking, is this all we have? Now, this is good. And I think this many people have, many modern people have. But what they don't have, which is what the sutra is suggesting, you need the sadness, but you need to have the wisdom. Wisdom, you see, if you don't have the wisdom, then this sadness takes over, meaningless, useless, purposeless. What's the point? Kind of total dark. I guess this is the result of what you call it, existentialist angst. So this is where the wisdom to go beyond that is what we need. Okay. So, okay, coming back to those who, like modern people, like you, like me, I don't know whether I should be even consider myself as a modern person, but people who live in this kind of situation, who don't have even a minute to sit, not just you don't have time, but you just don't even wish to do so. But you are sad, at the same time, you can sort of appreciate the wisdom of Vipassana. You can understand, anicca makes sense, dukkha makes sense, anatta makes sense, shunyata makes sense, tathagata garbha makes sense. But of course, you don't have the discipline to, do something about it, right? Not right away. So what do we then do? So this is what I wanted to sort of break down a little bit. How should we, the young, old, family, job, people who have job, how do we get acquainted, live with a Vipassana world? So let's choose one element or the aspect about the life that I was talking earlier. Job, relationship, and they're all equal actually. Every aspect of our life is so dependent on all kinds of cause and conditions. Like relationship, wow, to have the relationship work, whatever that means, it depends so much with so many cause and conditions. And the cause and conditions doesn't even have to be so big. It can be how much water is there in the coffee. If the coffee, that could trigger ups of the what relationship, or the downs of the relationship. It could. The t-shirt that you bought, I don't know, the way you put the sofa seat, so dependent on all kinds of cause and conditions, and it is endless. You cannot fix it. It's just not, you cannot fix it. Maybe you can fix it for maybe about a week, but then again, I will not use falls apart, because fall apart sounds very negative. That's how it is. Because it depends with the cause and condition, is revolving, is evolving all the time. And many times it is also good. It is many times the very cause that really destroyed your relationship have made your relationship even better. Maybe because of the amount of the water you have put on the coffee have made your relationship very passionate and exciting and very beautiful and romantic and sentimental, whatever, right? So we don't know, but that's how it is. So if the modern people, without sitting, without looking at the breath, but if you can educate yourself, if you can reflect again and again, look, my relationship, my job, not just relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but with a boss, with a colleague, with a friends, this depends so much on cause and conditions. And therefore, it can change. Change does not necessarily mean bad. It can be good, it can be bad. Tomorrow is another day. This afternoon, this evening is another day. We don't know what's in store. We really don't know what's in store. Yes, generally speaking, it has been fine, and this is very, very good. We should appreciate this, but we don't know. It's very uncertain. Now, if you have that kind of awareness, then it's a very, 21st century person's way of living and having a, what I would say, healthy, working relationship can exist, because there is that whole bird's eye view regarding your relationship. So there is always a room for forgiveness. There's always a room for openness. There's always a room for acceptance. So I think this can be, and this I am saying is a very much a Vipassana. And you could be not sitting 1 minute, but if you can really tell yourself that, educate yourself, this reflect. Because after all, bhavana, meditation, mind training is a reflection. Telling yourself, educating yourself, influencing yourself. Modern 21st century Vipassana, Sadhana. Similarly, dukkha. What does that mean? Unsatisfactoriness. Again, choose one thing in our life. Anything that we regard, we put high esteem, whatever value we have, like justice. Probably that's one thing that we put such a high regard. Justice, freedom, independence. Wow. All of those are all dukkha. Like suddenly, if you have an independence, are you really going to be satisfied? You see, dukkha is something opposite of satisfaction. I'm talking about a total satisfaction. If you are totally independent, will you really be satisfied with that? Something to really think about. Because when you finally become independent, as in how we wish, right? We wish to be, and as I spoke earlier, it's very complicated, because many times we want to be independent, but we want others to be dependent on us. There's a complication here. We want other people to depend on us. Oh, that's asking for trouble. So, and nobody has the guts to say, okay, you be independent, I be independent. You do your thing and I do your thing. We only say this, like on a theoretical level, but nobody gives us space. We don't give others space. And when we finally have our own space as how we wish, does it give us full satisfaction? This is something that we need to reflect. So then if we can see life, our value through this way, what will this do is it will kill all the prejudice, because we are looking at life and these values from all different angles. So again, even though you may not sit even for a minute in the entire 1 year, but if you can look at things that you value from all angles, and then see that they will not satisfy you 100%. I should say, sadhaka means sadhana practitioner, right? Sadhana doer. You are a Vipassana practitioner. And this is something that we modern people can do during our taxi ride, bus ride, I don't know, subway ride, while we are eating, while we are drinking. This is something that is possible to do, and we are intelligent enough to do. We are intelligent, we detest something called brainwashing, right? This is the best way to not let any circumstance or situation to brainwash you.